The offseason is here. Man, that sounds weird to say. Nebraska ends their season 5-7 after losing to Iowa and missing out on yet another bowl game. And now we go into the offseason before probably the biggest season in Nebraska football history, along with college football history. All the expansion, all the realignment happening in 2024. So how does Nebraska improve their roster, improve their coaching staff, along with some recruiting things? Let's just get into it in this video. But before we do, please hit like button on this video along with subscribing to the channel. A lot of these YouTube channels tend to die out around January, February, March. There's not a lot of Husker football news, but we will have constant updates, constant recruiting news, anything going on with Husker football. You'll have it right here on this channel. So you don't want to miss out any of that. But yeah, let's just get into the video. So the first thing Nebraska needs to do this offseason, and this is probably the most unlikely thing that will happen, is to fire Marcus Satterfield. I talked about in my last video, we will not fire Marcus Satterfield. Matt Rhule said time and time again, for better or worse, that he does not want to change up this staff going into year 2. Personally, I am against that. And we've seen countless examples throughout college football. I keep bringing up Dave Aranda, where you fire offensive coordinator after year 1, and in year 2, there's incredible results. We saw this when Mickey Joseph took over. They fired Eric Shenander. The defense got incredibly better with Bill Bush, right? Coaching changes impact how the team performs, regardless of what Matt Rhule says at his press conferences. We saw the worst offense statistically in Nebraska football history this year, right? That's not just because of a lack of talent. And to be completely honest, there wasn't a lack of talent. It wasn't just because of injuries. We saw incompetency like we've never seen before. So at the end of the day, a $1 million salary is not that big when we look at how much we've paid in buyouts in the past. If you really want to compete, if you really want to be serious, you got to fire this guy and get the best offense coordinator money can buy. But at the end of the day, probably won't happen, but we will see. So that's the big one. That is the big one. You got to fire Marcus Satterfield. And that's basic. Everybody's saying that. But let's get into the transfer portal. And this is probably the biggest thing that Nebraska needs to address. Starting off with the NIL. I was really frustrated with the NIL last offseason, along with, throughout the season this year. This is probably the most overrated school when it comes to NIL. When they were implementing it for the first time, everyone was saying, oh, Nebraska, right? They're going to have top 10 NIL money. They have so many boosters. That has not been the case. We have been very frugal. Our 1890 collective has been awful compared to SEC schools, compared to other Big Ten schools, compared to even ACC schools. Matt Davidson, who I talked about in the offseason, I hated. He took over that collective. It has went to crap since he took over. Man, the NIL collective needs to improve. And here's my problem, right? Nebraska, this is a complete athletic department problem, is that they keep asking their boosters to pay for these stadium renovations. Look around the country. Okay, there's not many programs right now getting stadium renovations or getting facility renovations. Okay, you don't want to know where that money's going? It's going to the program, to NIL. Nebraska is behind the times a little bit here. Okay, yes, I agree. Stadium renovations need to happen. But NIL comes before all of that. And right now, we don't really know what we're doing. It's incredibly frustrating. And I get stadium renovations and facility renovations. They are a selling point when it comes to recruiting. Absolutely they are. But you know what is number one? Straight hard cash that you're giving to these players. We need to increase our NIL collective. The fact that this athletic department continues to basically prioritize the wrong things, whether that's facility renovations, whether that's stadium renovations, the money's going to the wrong place right now. And it's having a direct impact on our recruiting because we're getting out-recruited, which I'll get to a little bit at the end of this video, specifically a couple decommits that we've had recently. So that's our conversation about the NIL. And you want to know what really will impact the NIL? Who we get in the quarterback market. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks enter the transfer portal as of recently. Will Howard from Kansas State just entered. Will Rogers from Mississippi State just entered. There's rumors that Cameron Ward from Washington State will enter. I wanted Cameron Ward originally when he was coming from Incarnate Word, when he was a big transfer then. He might re-enter and go to another school. So there is a lot of quarterbacks in this transfer portal. You have basically the pick of the litter right now as the program in Nebraska, right? Matt Rhule, you still have a vision to give to these transfer kids. You can say, hey, you want to come here, change, and make a difference and go to the NFL and be a legend, basically. Yeah, come to Nebraska, right? There are a lot of guys that we can pick. Again, there are a lot more. I mean, just looking through the transfer portal right now, Tyler Van Dyke from Miami, Max Brosmer, one really good FCS quarterbacks in the portal. The 2 Michigan State quarterbacks, really young guys, are in the portal. So there is no shortage of quarterbacks that we can choose from. That is going to be huge. You need to get at least one. So that just goes into my transfer wish list as a whole. So 1 quarterback is what you're going to need. 2 running backs. You need 2 running backs. This running back crew, it just doesn't have a big name. There are a lot of dudes in this room. There is not a man who really defines himself above the rest. Gabe Irvin was not incredible when he played. Same with Ramir Johnson, and he's going into his last year of eligibility. Emmett Johnson was fine, nothing to write home about, right? And then you just have a bunch of guys who really didn't play. So you need at least 2 running backs. A guy who might be younger, who really didn't get playing time where he was before, and a guy who has been productive in his career and can be your running back one right away. So that's what you should get in the running back market. Going to wide receiver, you need 2 there as well. Not really as big of a need. I know you have a lot of true freshmen. You're bringing in a lot more players that are going to be true freshmen. But just like running back, they lack a dude. Jalen Lloyd is probably our best returning wide receiver. That's saying a lot. There's not a lot going for that room. You lose Joshua Fleeks. You lose Billy Kemp. You're probably going to lose Marcus Washington. I'm not sure if he has a year of eligibility left. I would be shocked if he returned. So this wide receiver room just really lacks a front-end guy. I don't want to do this experiment next year where you just don't have a very strong room because you have a bunch of guys who are inexperienced. So you need at least 1 or 2 guys there. And again, a lot of good wide receivers. North Texas had a great receiver who just entered the portal. Boise State, Eric McAllister just entered the portal. So again, a lot of good receivers as usual. We've had a lot of success getting transfer wide receivers. Again, Samari Torre, Trey Palmer, Marcus Washington, I think was a pretty good success. So definitely got to get 2 receivers in the portal. Now on to what I consider our 3rd biggest need. So we have quarterback as our biggest need, of course. You have something I'll say next, which is our 2nd biggest need. And then you have our 3rd biggest need, that being the tight end position. A lot of people aren't considering that. The tight end just has been underwhelming all year long. Nate Borgenschur, I love Nate Borgenschur to death, man. He is not a tight end 1 in Big Ten football. And as for the other tight end we have, Thomas Fidone, I'm just tired of waiting for Thomas Fidone to break out. This is year 3 for him. He was a borderline 5-star. He used to post on his Twitter account back when he was getting recruited that he was going to enter the draft in 2024. Like, I love Fidone. I think he's really talented. I cannot continue to wait for him to break out. He was not a tight end 1 caliber player last year. And was it convincing? I mean, he wasn't convincing at all. Was it a surprise to anybody that the only time he caught the football was when Heinrich Haarberg was starting at quarterback and he was staring him down every single route because they were roommates? And then once Jeff Sims got in the ball game and when Chuba Purdy got in the ball game, Fidone barely caught any passes. Again, he's a talented player. It is what it is. Again, injuries kind of screw him throughout his career, but he should not be our tight end 1 going into next year. Let's get a real productive player and see if Fidone can continue to develop. But, man, Fidone's been really disappointing. He needs to be – at this point, I can't really defend him anymore. You were a borderline 5-star. I get the injury situation, but you can't have the year you had this year. You were tight end 1 for the most part of it. I think you ended with about 200 receiving yards. It can't happen. So, yep, that's another need. That's our third biggest need. Our 2nd biggest need is O-line. Continue to develop these trenches. You need at least 2 players on this O-line. You haven't got a lot of guys returning. You really only lose Ethan Piper and Norton Newelly, but you have a lot of guys returning. You still need talent on this line. There's a lack of depth. I don't feel great about Ben Hart starting again. Ben Hart, even though he played a lot better this year, was still not great. You need depth. You need borderline top-end guys. We tried to get guys last year when Rule got here. Walter Rousey, Micah Mazuka. We failed on basically all of them. They went to better schools. They went to Florida. They went to Oklahoma. We need to get some top-end guys who've started in college athletics before. So definitely need 2 linemen there. Need a guy in the D-line just as depth. I feel good about this D-line unit. I feel really good about this D-line unit. Need a linebacker. Yeah, you need a linebacker. You lose Luke Reimer, you lose John Bullock, you lose Nick Henrich. I feel good about Mekhi Gabayer starting. I feel good about MJ Sherman returning, but you still need a linebacker there, a middle linebacker, obviously. And then that's about it for needs. You could get a defensive back if you really wanted to, losing out on Quinn Newsom, but it's not a big need. And then I would like to get a kicker. I'd like to get a walk-on kicker transfer to battle with Tristan Alvano. Tristan Alvano was bad this year. Let's just call it what he is. I do not feel comfortable with Tristan Alvano being our kicker one without any competition. He needs to fight for it. You do not shoot 60% field goals and go into the next year unquestioned. We need to get a walk-on kicker, no question about it, who can compete with him and potentially take his job if Tristan Alvano doesn't improve. So that is my transfer wish list. Again, it all depends on the quarterback. If you get yourself a guy at quarterback, you're going to be fine next year. Just like last year. And Matt Rule historically, like probably the biggest bust we've seen at the quarterback position in a very long time in Jeff Sims. Not a very good first impression. First impressions are forever, man. So Matt Rule, this is a good way to rebound it. Get yourself a guy. I'm telling you this, Matt Rule. If you bust on Jeff Sims, you put all your stock in Jeff Sims, didn't work out, you lost all your money. If you pick another quarterback from this portal, whether it's, let's say, Will Howard, and Will Howard comes in and is terrible, and you lose all your money again, basically, figuratively, of course, it's hard for this fan base to defend you going into year 3, given the fact that you put all your stock into 2 quarterbacks that came out and busted. So this is a really big cycle for Matt Rule, and I pray that he makes the right decision. As for who I think he should get, I really think you should put all your money into Cameron Ward. Cameron Ward's a stud. Again, I wanted him coming from Incarnate Word. Really good quarterback. If you cannot get Cameron Ward, which you probably won't be able to with our lack of NIL collective, would love to get Will Rogers. Will Rogers is a heck of a quarterback. Would love to get Will Rogers. So that is who I want the quarterback. And again, we'll talk about that more as the offseason progresses, who I want at quarterback, who I want at running back. This is just a broad overview of what we need to do, what position we should go for. So obviously look for those videos as we get deeper into the offseason, get deeper in December with the transfer portal, start heating up a little bit. So that's our conversation about the transfer portal. Because of all the transfers that you hopefully bring in, there's a couple guys that are going to need to leave the team or get off scholarship. So I'm just going to go through them. Again, like this is the way college athletics work right now. I mean, all the guys I'm about to list, all respect to them. I hope they land somewhere. I hope they stay on the team, maybe not on scholarship. But again, if they're getting paid now, it's just the way college football works. So some guys that, I would like to see us move on from or give them an ultimatum. Jeff Sims, this one's obvious. Love Jeff Sims. I think he's a talented quarterback, but it just didn't work out here. Let's see if he gets another chance elsewhere. So that's number 1. Number 2 is Brian Buschini. Buschini was bad this year, dude. Really, really bad. He didn't walk at senior day. One of the worst punter seasons we've seen in a long time since Caleb Lightbourne. He was bad. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it because Buschini had a really solid year the year before. Buschini was bad. I would not mind to see us or at least remove him from scholarship. He could stay on the roster, fight for it again. But I don't feel comfortable putting a scholarship on a special teams player who I don't feel confident in playing at a really high level. So that's my second. Couple other guys here that I just would feel okay if we moved on from. Randolph Kapai is one. I really liked Randolph Kapai as a recruit. Coming from South Dakota, he was a game wrecker. He has not touched the field once here. I'm sorry, if you do not touch the field at least once here in your 3 years here, you can leave. Randolph Kapai would like to see you play at another level. Maybe he goes back home to South Dakota. I think he'd be a stud. He's a talented player. Javier Morton's another guy. We got him as a JUCO. He's going into his last year of eligibility. Really has never cracked the depth chart. If you're a JUCO, you don't crack the depth chart within a couple years. Probably not going to work out. But Javier Morton, that's frustrating. The guy who really was really talented. And then just a couple D linemen. Roquan Buckley's a guy who I just never really loved as a recruit. Hasn't played here. If you are getting beaten out by 2 true freshmen, which he was in Cameron Lenhart and Prince Emmanuel, it'll be hard for you to make the field for the rest of your career. So we'd like to see us move away from Roquan Buckley. So that's just a couple of guys that, I think it really does them a benefit too if they leave. I mean, it's frustrating when you're sitting on the bench your entire career. So I think it's mutually beneficial if we move away from them and they can go into a different program, potentially play. So those are some guys that I would like to see off scholarship just to make some room for some guys. But honestly, we've done a pretty good job weeding out some dudes when Matt Rule got here. There were a lot of guys who just weren't producing, and we got rid of them right away. So I think Matt Rule is already doing a really good job of that. So that's basically who we should really get rid of, who should move on from the program. This is the last thing we're going to talk about in this video, and it's recruiting. And it ties back to NIL, but man, oh man, we need to start recruiting at a higher level. We had a pretty all right class. Looking through our class, we're number 22 right now in the 2024. Had a couple 4-stars. One of the better classes we've had in recent history. It really thins out, though, when you get to the end, right? These lower 3-star players that don't have many more offers, it really thins out. We need to get a couple more commits in this class. When I was writing my notes this morning about making this video, I put number 1 in this section. I said, get Grant Bricks. Well, I looked on Twitter a couple hours ago, and boom, Grant Bricks committed to Nebraska. So that's number 1, right? Grant Bricks, stud, top 100 lineman, really, really good kid. One of the people I went to school with earlier now goes to school with him and has his only good things about Grant Bricks. So really, really good kid. Would love to see him with the program. And now, of course, he does commit. So I think that's a huge addition. You have got to beef up this O-line. You do it in the transfer portal. You do it in recruiting. Ideally, you're 10 deep in college football. You're 10 deep. You feel good about 10 O-linemen. That's the way it used to be, man. That's the way it used to be. So really love Grant Bricks. He will be a playmaker here. But let's get into the decommits a little bit. And I think if this is the biggest indicator that we have not made it with Matt Rule yet in the recruiting sphere. We haven't made it because we see a lot of players commit to us when they're not looked at early on, and then they start to get more looks. They start to blow up a little bit, and then they decommit. We saw this with Kawan Lacey, who I believe was the best running back commit we've had on paper since Sevion Morrison. Probably better than Sevion Morrison. Kawan Lacey, man, he is a stud. Just an unbelievable recruit. He would have played as a true freshman here. Absolutely would have played as a true freshman. He blew up, got a 4-star rating. I think he's top 25, top 200 now. And decommitted once he got an offer from Alabama, as he should, right? So that was the first one that decommitted, and then we had a big one who decommitted today, yesterday when I released this video. And I've been talking about him on recent videos. I was like, you guys have got to keep this guy committed. Carlin Jones. Carlin Jones decommitted. He is now a 4-star. He got an offer recently from Ohio State. He had a huge year in Texas high school football. I think he was top 25 in the entire state in sacks. And mind you, that's at D tackle. Yeah, Carlin Jones is just, oh man, he was probably the best commit we had, period. And decommitted. And really, I get it. I understand it, right? When you get an offer from Ohio State, you probably have to take it. But what this screams to me is that we don't have much to offer him. Whether that's facilities, whether that's NIL, right? A lot of times you see some of these guys continue to be committed to these lower level schools or these, worse schools on paper because of the fact that they're going to make a lot of money in NIL. From my understanding, we just didn't offer Carlin Jones enough money in NIL, right? Tell me, if we're offering this dude $100,000 to come and commit to us, he would decommit and go to Ohio State. Because I guarantee you Ohio State is not offering more than that for a defensive lineman. He probably wouldn't. He'd probably stay with us. There is reason to stay with us. But really, what happened is we're not offering much in NIL. He's going to Ohio State. He says, well, Ohio State's the better program. I could probably get my money at NIL. I could probably play pretty early. Not, as a true freshman, but I'll play. And then I'm going to go to the NFL, right? So it just screams to me that we really don't have much to offer. And that sucks because Carlin Jones is a stud. So we'll see if we end up, getting back in that recruiting sphere with him. I doubt it. Usually when they say they're 100% decommitted, we just don't have a shot. So a lot of love to Carlin Jones, but man, that hurts. And it's a clear reflection of our deficiencies in recruiting right now. So there are a couple guys that are still on my radar that we need to lock down. I think Ja'Shawn Ross is number 1 on everybody's board. Lock him down. Edge rusher. You can never have enough edge rushers. Get him on the roster. He's also a wide receiver. Some colleges are recruiting him as a wide receiver. Will be interesting to see. I'm pretty sure we're recruiting him as an edge. But Ja'Shawn Ross, absolute stud. Need to lock him down. And I think you really need to lock down a running back as well. We see a couple of decommits as of recently. Some guys we haven't even offered yet, but you don't have a running back in this class. Let me double check that actually. Yeah, you do not have a running back in this class. You need one. You need one. This is not a great running back room. I don't feel good about your young running backs like Quentin Ives. I don't feel great about him being a starting running back. You don't have a lot of young running backs. Get one. Find a way to get one in this recruiting class. So we still need a running back. Let's get Jayshon Ross. Yeah, and that's really it for the 2024 class. Honestly, pretty successful, all things considered. And we'll have a recap video about the 2024 class. We'll get in detail with all these players and say what I like, what I dislike, and who plays as a true freshman potentially. So that is the recruiting. One last thing I want to talk about is the quarterback situation with Danny Caitlin. There are a lot of people out there who speculated over the fall, are still speculating whether Danny Caitlin could come in here and play as a true freshman. I love Danny Caitlin, man. I think he's super talented. He can sling it 60 yards. One of the more talented recruits we've seen commit to us probably since Adrian Martinez. Danny Caitlin's a stud, man. However, if he plays as a true freshman, we are not in a good position. He's very raw as a prospect still. Very raw. He has struggled a lot this year with Bellevue West, especially when Isaiah McMorris and Davon Hall missed time. If you're struggling in Class A football in Nebraska as a quarterback, it'll be hard for you to transition and start for Nebraska in year one. So, yeah, obviously, I do not believe he'll play in year one. I really don't even feel good about him playing in year two. We'll see. But Danny Caitlin, I think once he does get on the field, he will be a stud. But yeah, I just want to clear that up. Danny Caitlin probably will not come in here and play as a true freshman. Okay, let's not even say probably. He won't. He won't come in here and play as a true freshman. If he does, it's due to injuries and something's very wrong. But Danny Caitlin's a stud. Really excited for him in the future. So that's the video, everybody. That's the video. What we should do in the offseason. Get some transfers. Got to get transfers everywhere, every single position. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, O-line, D-line, linebacker, everywhere. Right, this team it does lack talent. It does lack talent. It lacks depth. We've seen a lot of injuries on offense last year. The offense, went to crap after that. You got to get some depth. So definitely get some transfers. Got to bump up this 2024 recruiting cycle, and then get some guys off scholarship who really aren't producing. Maybe see if they can get an opportunity at the next level. Maybe at FCS football, maybe in Group of 5. So that is the video, everybody. If you have anything else you want to add and what Nebraska should do, let me know in the comment section below. We're going to have videos coming out very soon talking about the recruiting class, talking about transfer portal stuff. I guess one thing I didn't mention in this video was, retaining some guys in the portal who might enter. And like I said my video last week, the culture that Matt Rule says he has will be put to the test right now, depending on how many guys enter the portal. So we will see. We'll have videos, though, if anybody enters. We'll have videos if anybody commits. So watch out for that, and then we'll have a big video talking about the recruiting class that you're not going to want to miss. So as always, go Big Red, go Matt Rule. See you next time, everybody.